Hi, my name is Emily. If you asked me a year ago, I would have told you I had the perfect life. A loving husband, a beautiful home, a marriage built on trust. Or so I thought. But sometimes the truth hides in plain sight, just waiting for the right moment to shatter everything you believe in. This is the story of how, in just one weekend, my world collapsed. And how I discovered that the man I loved was living a double life. Daniel and I met during my last year in college. He had that kind of charm that made everyone turn when he entered the room. We'd talk for hours about everything and nothing. 2 years later, we got married. We bought a little house with a porch swing, planted roses in the garden. He'd bring me coffee in bed on Sundays. At night, we'd fall asleep holding hands. I believed, with all my heart, that we were soulmates. It started small. He began working late. Deadlines, he'd say. His phone, once left casually on the counter, was now always in his pocket. He started wearing a new cologne, one I'd never smelled before. Once, when I hugged him, I caught a faint trace of perfume. Floral, sweet, not mine. I laughed it off, told myself I was being paranoid, but my stomach, it knew. It twisted every time his phone buzzed, and he quickly turned it face down. One Thursday evening, he said he'd be working late. I cooked dinner, waited until 10 p.m., then called him so. No answer. When he finally came home, his shirt smelled faintly of wine. Client dinner, he said, kissing my forehead. His lips were warm, but something in his eyes felt distant. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, my mind replaying every little moment I had ignored. The next week, while doing laundry, I found a hotel receipt in his jacket pocket. 2 nights at a boutique hotel downtown. The date? Last month. The room? King Suite. He had told me he was on a business trip in Chicago. I felt my hands shake, my breath coming fast. Part of me wanted to confront him right then, but another part needed to see it for myself. That Friday, I told him I'd be visiting my sister for the weekend. I packed a bag, kissed him goodbye, and then parked my car 2 blocks away. My heart pounded so hard I could hear it in my ears. At 7:30 p.m., he left the house dressed in the blue shirt I'd bought him for our anniversary. He looked happy. I followed him into the city, every red light feeling like an eternity. He pulled up to a small Italian restaurant, the same one where he proposed to me 7 years ago. A woman with bright red hair got out of a taxi and walked straight to him. He smiled, the same smile he used to give me, and hugged her like he'd known her forever. They went inside. Through the window, I saw them sit in our booth. When the waiter brought dessert, he fed her a spoonful, laughing. It felt like I was watching my own memories being stolen. I stayed in my car, the steering wheel cold beneath my fingers. Rain started tapping against the windshield, blurring my view. I cried. silently at first, then in heavy sobs I couldn't control. Every laugh from their table felt like a knife. I remembered our wedding vows, the way he promised to love me until the end. And now, here he was, giving pieces of himself to someone else. The next morning, while he was in the shower, I checked his bank account on my laptop. Multiple hotel charges, 2 necklaces from a jewelry store I'd never been to, dinner bills, all in the city. He'd been seeing her for months. My hands were trembling so badly I could barely close the browser. That evening, I asked him to sit down. "Daniel, are you in love with someone else?" His face froze. He didn't speak, just stared at the floor. When he finally looked up, his eyes were wet. "I didn't mean for it to happen," he whispered, but apologies couldn't glue my heart back together. Two days later, I followed him again. This time, he went to an apartment building in a quiet neighborhood. I waited until he went inside, then climbed the stairs and knocked. She opened the door. Behind her, I saw his jacket on the couch, his shoes by the door. It wasn't just an affair, it was a second life. That night, I packed my things and left. I went to my sister's house, where she held me while I cried. I felt empty, but also free. I knew I deserved more than half-truths and hidden lives. It's been 8 months now. Some days, the pain still feels fresh, but I've learned to trust myself again. If I could tell anyone one thing, it would be this. If something feels wrong, listen to your gut, and never let someone convince you that you're asking for too much by wanting honesty. Months have passed since that night when I walked away. Some mornings, the emptiness beside me in bed still aches, but with every sunrise, I feel a little stronger. I started writing again, picking up hobbies I had abandoned to fit into his world, and slowly, I realized I was never broken. I was bent, hurt, scarred, but not broken. There's a quote I keep close to my heart now. Sometimes, the hardest goodbye is the one that sets you free. Daniel's betrayal shattered me, but it also rebuilt me into someone who knows her worth. So, if you're listening and you've ever felt that same gut-wrench and doubt, please remember, the love you deserve will never make you question your own value. And as for me, I no longer wait for someone else to bring me flowers. I buy them myself, because I know now I am enough.